in. It's already free.
Okay, so it's 3 p.m. and we are all set to begin our today's webinar. First of all, we would like to thank all our esteemed speakers for being part of this panel discussion. Welcoming Ms. Konika Chadda, Regional Market Leader, Conferry, Mr. Srinivas Reddy, Head of Human Resources, Pristine Care, Mr. Colin Mendes, Head of Human Resources, Volta Specco, Ms. Pallavi Kar, Associate Director, Human Resources, Tablespace Technologies. In today's rapidly changing world, sustainability has become a pressing concern for organizations across the industries. As businesses recognize the importance of sustainable practices, it is crucial to foster a culture of sustainability within the workplace. HR plays a pivotal role in driving employee engagement and well being, and it can be a powerful catalyst for promoting sustainability initiatives. This webinar explores how HR can contribute to creating a culture of sustainability and the impact it can have on employee engagement and well being. Our esteemed panelists would share their views on this insightful topic, creating a culture of sustainability, HR's role in employee engagement and well-being. HRA welcomes you all to the session on connecting the dots. To know more about HRA and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all the participants to give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege for introducing our moderator for the session, Ms. Pallavi Kar, Associate Director, Human Resources, Tablespace Technologies. Pallavi currently holds the position of Associate Director, HR at Tablespace Technologies, a leading organization in the commercial real estate space in India. With a strong focus on talent and organizational development and DEI, Pallavi is dedicated to creating a positive, diverse, and inclusive workplace culture. Her commitment to employee development, engagement, and growth is evident in her role as an ICC ACF certified NLP coach and master trainer, as she strives to cultivate a workplace that promotes continuous learning and performance. With more than 16 years of experience, Pallavi brings a wealth of experience from her previous assignments in diverse industries, including banking, insurance, education, and retail. Her expertise lies in people and change management, particularly during times of organizational restructuring and acquisitions. With a bachelor's degree in commerce and a postgraduate degree in business management, Pallavi combines her academic knowledge with practical insights. Her exceptional leadership skills have earned her recognition in various forums, such as being named one of the top 40 emerging leaders by ETHR, an inspiring woman leader by Golden Aim Awards, and leading woman leader by Eventbox. Pallavi's expertise extend beyond her professional achievements. She is a regular speaker at prestigious national and international conferences, including the World HR Congress, World HRD Congress, People Matters, and HREI. Through her speaking engagements, Pallavi passionately connects with people and helps them unleash their true potential. Outside her professional endeavors, Pallavi is a trained classical Odissi dancer, showcasing her artistic talents. She also finds joy in traveling, frequently exploring diverse geographies, and engaging in hiking adventures. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Please join me in welcoming Pallavi Kar, a dynamic leader and catalyst for positive workplace transformation. Over to you, Ms. Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Faisal, for the introduction. And a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for investing your time with us on this beautiful, bright Thursday afternoon. I'm Pallavi, and today we have an amazing panel of highly eminent HR leaders with us who will be sharing their views and exciting insights on this very critical topic that everyone is talking about, sustainability, and what is HR's role in it. As business leaders, we're all feeling the internal and external pressure to deliver on our sustainability strategies. During the past years, sustainability has become so much more than just a buzzword for organizations, regardless of whichever industry they operate in. Businesses have actually become much more aware about the fact on focusing on sustainability is not only an opportunity to advance the world's ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance agenda, but it is also a very important source of sustainable competitive advantage in stakeholder management. Therefore, many organizations are now striving to build a culture of sustainability and engage their employees in the process of sustainable growth. Why employees? Because employees share the company's culture. They are the actual people who shape the company's culture. It is a very complex and a very subtle relationship. While the organizational culture can be glimpsed in the company's mission, vision, values, it is so much more than that. Organizational culture is defined in the ways employees interact with one another, how they interact with the top management, and how they go about their daily activities. Typically, the fine print is this is how things are done here. A strong sustainability culture exists if people share a belief into sustainability's importance and behave in ways that support it, including making decisions that balance long term considerations and short term needs. It is important, that's why the people see sustainability as a priority rather than just a pipe dream that does not get thrown away in wayside of other business objectives. So, where and how does an organization start to cultivate a culture of sustainability? And more importantly, can businesses balance their financial and social and environmental risks as well as their obligations and opportunities while creating a sustainable culture in the long term? Now, that's where the importance of creating an organizational sustainability strategy comes into picture. Building an organization sustainability strategy, it means moving from a stakeholder first, business as usual mindset to a collaborative, nature centered worldview that considers value creation for the society as well as all the stakeholders, which also includes its employees. Sustainability today, as Faisal said, has actually reached a level of strategic imperative. The needed discourse is no longer about whether to incorporate sustainability into strategy and operations or even how to do it. But the question is, how should we do it better? As per a study by Forbes, 93% of CEOs see sustainability as a very important to their company's future success. Yet, most do not know how to embed sustainability into day-to-day operations, processes, and corporate culture. So, in today's discussion, we will actually examine how can HR support being a very strategic business partner to build a sustainable culture at workplace. But before we deep dive into the discussion and the panel introductions, I want to take a quick temperature check of the room. So can I request Faisal to show the question?
Yes. Sham, request you to please run the poll for the first question.
Thank you. So the question that you can see on the screen is, what aspect of employee well-being and sustainability are you most interested to learn about today? Mental health and well-being initiatives or physical health and wellness programs, work-life balance and flexibility policies, or is it sustainable and healthy workplace environment, employee engagement and sustainability practices, or if there is anything other, you can be specify in the chat window. I can see a lot of responses coming in. So sustainable and healthy workplace environment, work-life balance. Okay, work-life balance currently we have running at a 43%. I'll just wait for a few more minutes before we close this. Great. I mean, I think the sustainable and healthy work health clearly emerge as toppers. Great. Thank you so much for the very prompt response. And while it is happening, while the audience poll is still going on, our goal today is that whatever your role is in this, whether you're from HR or you are a business leader or an employee, that you come away with something. a new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply at your workplace to embed sustainability into its DNA. So, to give you a format of what you should be expecting today, we'll take a next few minutes to introduce each of the panelists to briefly tell a little bit about their background in the industry. I'll kick off the conversation asking few questions that draw out some high-level themes and ideas, and then towards the later half of session today, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you have been thinking about. So let's get started with the panel introduction. So our first panelist for today is Ms. Konika Chadha. Konika is the head of professional search and regional market leader for Korn Ferry in India. She is responsible for developing and growing the search practices across sectors through client acquisition, engagement, and delivery. In her current role, she leads the search business for leadership and mid-level hires. Given her experience as a business and HR leader and strong credentials in leadership placements, she comes with a very keen business acumen and understanding of the search vertical she leads. She is recognized as a strong leader in the search and has received multiple recognitions, including Exception Women Leader from Women's Economic Forum in 2018 and her Rising Award in 2019 for Women in HR. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Welcome, Konika.
Lovely to meet you all, and I look forward to having this conversation with you. I will obviously try and give not just a Korn Ferry perspective, but there's a lot that we do with clients in this particular area. So I will try and do a mix of both so that you get a perspective on what the world is talking about.
Wonderful. Looking forward. Our next panelist for today is Srinivas Reddy. Srini comes with over 20 years of experience across various HR functions, including talent engagement, employee relations, talent acquisition, and compensation and benefits, cutting across financial services, health tech, and IT-enabled business process management sectors. Srini's gained experience working across organization various maturity phases, that is from startup, growth, and stabilized. He is currently the head of human resources of Pristine Care, a health tech startup based out of Gurgaon with more than 2,400 plus workforce services industry. Is my voice audible now? Okay. Srini has spent the last 20 years of his career in the IT services industry. Prior to his current assignment, he worked with MetLife Global Shared Services and GE Capital, which is now Genpact. He has been certified by eCornell on advanced strategic HR management. By qualification, he holds an executive MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. An avid runner and a cyclist, he has completed 11 half marathons, 4 full marathons, and various expeditions. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window already. Welcome, Srini.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. Looking forward. I think it's a great set of panelists and great set of participants, and looking forward to a great topic. And sustainability is super critical in the age post COVID. That we've all learned. So looking forward to share some views.
Wonderful. Looking forward, Srini. Our last but not the least panel member for today is Colin Mendes. Colin is the head of human resources for Voltas Beko, a joint venture between Voltas and Arcelor. In his current role, Colin is building talent that brings everyday happiness to each household in India. In his earlier assignments, Colin has worked at group level as well as across varied industries, including engineering solutions, telecom, ITES, FMCG, and pharmaceutical, covering various facets of HR at the operational as well as the strategic level. He has held senior leadership positions with Voltas, Group HR, Tata Sons, Tata Teleservices, and WNS Global Services, Bharti Airtel, Hindustan Unilever, and Pfizer, with specific exposure in people and change management during mergers and acquisitions. Colin holds a bachelor's degree in commerce and postgraduate in business management. His expertise has been regularly sought out at conferences, forums, institutions, and knowledge centers like CII, NHRDN, SHRM, People Matters, World HRD Congress, IIT Delhi, and other management institutions who regularly invite him to share his perspective. Colin has also been recognized as the Great Manager at the Great Managers Award 2017 in the category Aligning Organization Vision, hosted by People Business and Economic Times. Colin loves to travel and explore new geographies and is also a travel blogger. He also enjoys various genres of music. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Pallavi. Extremely excited to be here and share my perspective with all my fellow panelists. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Welcome, Colin, once more. And with that, we will quickly jump on to today's discussion. And as I said, I'll be kickstarting this discussion with a few questions to each of the panel members. And towards the end of the discussion, we will have questions from the audience. So my first question to you, Colin, is what specific initiatives or programs can HR implement to promote employee engagement in sustainability efforts?
Yeah. So Pallavi, when I was hearing you speak, and there's something that came to my mind, and I think I caught on this particular thing that you spoke about, where you need to balance long-term consideration and short-term needs, and I think that's so very beautifully summarized in what sustainability is all about. HR can play a beautiful role because HR is in really pushing and promoting this entire sustainability efforts. And I think a large part of it really starts from the overall design of sustainability. So what is really the long-term vision? What is the where do we want to take sustainability to what level do we want to arrive at? And I think the HR plays a very critical role in actually helping build the overall perspective of the purpose, the long-term purpose, and of where sustainability would need to evolve from its current state in the organization. So I think that to me is one very critical aspect. Today, while a lot of us are talking about it, still today, if you ask me, the awareness of sustainability is very limited, and the thorough understanding is also very limited to a large section of population. And I think, to me, I think HR can play a very significant role in really building that awareness in terms of what exactly is sustainability. What are some of the principles that need to be adhered to? What are some of the good practices that organizations are doing? Focus on creating knowledge, focus on building competence. And to me, I think this is very, very critical. And HR really can drive this in I would say, if I were to put it in a sustainable way. So that's to me another very important aspect. Now you need to put the gun on someone's shoulder and ensure that it drives, and the best way to do that is to actually create a group of people with like-minded thoughts, like-minded ideas, who understand and who are able to take the overall vision of the company's sustainability forward. And nothing better than to have a cross-section of people from different functions and create a committee that is able to drive this task force that's really able to drive this in a good mechanism. And I think this, to me, this can be further drilled down, wherein where through sustainability champions that can spearhead initiatives at various locations. So while HR teams, and you and me will agree with, are limited and probably not present in most large organizations globally or in each location, you need to have a champion that will have to drive it. You need to have a champion that will have to take on a particular agenda and move that forward. And to me, so these are some things that HR can actually create an overall structure, an overall framework, and really drive it through committees and of course through champions to a very large extent across. Yeah. One of the important things, and this is something that we have done, and I will share maybe at some point in time what exactly we've done. But I think one important thing is recognize people. Yeah, and we've created a program called Impact. Yeah, which is making every day better. And responsibility is one of the key pillars to that. That actually signifies that this is serious stuff, and we want everyone to work towards it. Yeah. And we've created a beautiful story around how this entire thing will work. We've published stories about people, what they have done, and actually encouraging people. So HR can play a direct as well as an indirect role in really building that. And I think to me, one more point that comes to my mind uh, is you need to constantly measure. You need to constantly evaluate where is the needle moving forward. Yeah. And so whatever initiatives you take on, whatever you start doing, is it moving forward in the direction that it was early envisaged to do? So I think the important thing is create metrics that are built on the entire sustainability agenda, and measure these metrics at various points of time. And I think the good old saying says, whatever gets measured gets done. So ensure that the committee takes on the matrix of measurement and continuous improvement that will actually drive sustainability to the extent to which it is envisaged to be. So these are some things that broadly come to my mind, and I think a lot of it goes through a lot of effort, and if it's driven from the center, whether it's through HR or through through the committee or to the sustainability champions, it needs to be overall designed, and it should fall into the overall arching organization structure that will help drive the sustainability efforts forward. Yeah, so that's a few of my points on what HR can really do.
Thank you so much, Colin. I think you set up the context very nicely, saying that, how HR actually becomes very instrumental in ensuring that sustainability is actually sustainable.
Yeah.
It is just not a practice which goes out of the window. So I think one of the most important points when it comes to ensuring that sustainability can be sustainable is communicating that importance to all employees, right? And to everyone basically in the organization. So my next question to you, Srini, is how can HR communicate thoughts?
I think and lot said by Colin, and how do organizations communicate? This is one of the biggest levers for any organizations that today they struggle with, and more so when you have when the world has changed right after COVID. Earlier everybody was used to come to work, but now it's not, right? I mean, there is remote working, which is the in thing. Most of the employee candidates clearly ask, do you have a work from home, right? Do you have a remote working in this particular role? And I have a feeling that there's going to be in just few months or maybe a couple of years that the comp consultants are going to run the survey for both the roles. It's going to be different compensation structure. So I think communication, I think organizations, in my view, have to do very, very structurally, again and again, touching upon what just Colin said, rewarding employees for the same communication, right? What gets, they say that, right? What gets rewarded gets repeated again and again. So ensure that you're rewarding the managers, you're rewarding the people, you're rewarding the teams, right, that are communicating again and again. And you can see all other metrics in that particular team, whatever the organizational metrics that are there, Pallavi, they really show up again and again that they're doing going in the right direction, right? And it really boils down because communication is happening intact, right? A couple of things an organization can do. One is that have a very periodic top-down communication, be it through town hall, all hands, or whatever you want to call that as, right? That is one clear right from, should be done. Second, are they calendarized, right? On a, be it monthly, quarterly, weekly, half yearly, annually, whatever those communications are, have they been calendarized? Are they happening period without any break, right? That is the second thing, very, very important. Third, go back and ask employees, right? Are they aware about what's happening in the organization, right? While the opinion surveys, are there, I still feel there's a lot of value in that. Go back and ask employees. If the employees feel that, they don't know what's happening in the organization, it clearly tells you, saying whatever communication that you're doing needs to get better, both length and breadth, right? So whatever form and shape that you have to do, be it emailers, be it WhatsApp, Slack, Team, whatever that is there in the organization, whichever way more that people, can get communication, it has to be done. Super, super important, right? So I think, that organization, looking at the workforce, looking at the, maturity of the workforce. There are organizations where the average age is about 28, 26. There are organizations where the average is about 36, right? So, and different organizations will need different, tailor-make solutions, but that's very, very important for organizations to go back and see on the drawing board, what does it take for them to go and communicate to the larger organization. Right? That's my 2 cents, Pallavi, on communication.
Thank you so much, Rini. And I completely agree with you. When it comes to driving culture, the first and the foremost thing is communication. And I think that's a very important point that you noted down there, calendarizing the communication. Sometimes in the kind of pressure or the dynamics of the business that we are in, it kind of tends to get waysided, right? And people don't pay as much importance, or acha, maybe tomorrow we'll do it, or later we'll do it. Maybe the town hall can be done next quarter. So I think that's something very, very important, the way you brought it up. But for doing that, I think a very important thing is, how the leadership sees this as a strategy, how the leadership wants to drive sustainability as a strategy. So my next question is to Konika. Konika, in your opinion, what role does leadership play in driving sustainability, and how can HR support leaders in promoting that culture of sustainability? What are your thoughts?
So I think, firstly, I'm glad that we are talking about a topic like this in the first place. Okay. And when it comes to sustainability, I think what I'd like to share with the group today, given I'm on the other side of the fence, really, with fortunately a view of what we are hearing across the board in terms of different industries and not specific to a company or a particular sector. When it comes to leadership today, I think the way I want to start is, today, the way a leader is looked at is very different from what it was in, I would say, pre-COVID or pre-pandemic times, because, how businesses have evolved, how businesses become conscious in terms of sustainability and solutions plays a very, very important role. And as a result, it means that the competencies that are needed, the way the leadership needs to drive sustainability is also very critical. I think also I want to refer to the fact that people in the group should not think leadership is only the C-suite. Anybody who's in an early supervisory role, managing people, is a leader and is a steward for well-being. So it does not matter where you are in that, in that structure or hierarchy. Your behavior, your interaction with the team, it all defines what your workplace and culture is going to be really looking like. In fact, not while I will talk about a Conferry structure on it, I also want to highlight something in a recent report, which I kind of really read, where, employees are talking about leadership, which is, more empathetic. Where the leader is very clear on what is the purpose that the organization is driving, because today employees are associating themselves with the purpose of the organization. So when we are talking about sustainability today, it is also somewhere related with organization purpose and employees' purpose. So everybody looks at a belongingness in terms of, why am I working here? What am I doing here? Am I giving back to the society? Very recently, I want to quote an example where I was, fortunately, I was a part of an event where, the organization is all about creating clean tech energy. They're into clean tech. Now, over there, I was surprised to meet that there were leaders from all over the world, 5 very prominent ones, who left their jobs and just came up to join that organization because they believed in what the organization is doing, and they were doing a fantastic job in terms of communicating that vision to them. When you're attracting leaders of that caliber, they by default are going to attract the rest of the team members. But what was good, if you went to the organization, and I think, from what, Srini just spoke about communication, etc., it has to be driven from there. It's not just a town hall, it is in your behavior, in, a leader's behavior in terms of what they're doing. What is the advantage of what they are doing? Are we talking about it? How is it adding back? And, which in turn is going to, really interact with, their well-being, their job satisfaction. So there is very recently, it was during the COVID time where, we launched something which is called 5 Graces of Leadership. If you guys want to, kind of Google it, you'll find this Conferry report there, where whether we are talking sustainability or we are talking forward organizations, there are 5 attributes which are very important in leaders today. So when you say grace, I think it's a very easy way of remembering it. It is about gratitude. The attitude that elevates our spirits, boosts the morale, lifts the heart. You talk about, what is it that we are trying to do? Looking forward thinking in terms of an organization, resilience, which is going beyond your wildest dreams to do it. And sustainability is a lot to do with that as well. Your workplace practices, things like efficiency when it comes to even things like travel, what kind of policies that you're using. Are our products and solutions giving back? All of that kind of really comes in there. What is the aspiration? Are we building knowledge? The first thing that you spoke about, are we creating that environment, and is the leadership fostering a knowledge-centric organization? Or is it just an operationally driven organization, not driving knowledge at all? Courage. I mean, people need to have courage to, say or share what they want and become part of those initiatives, and they should be given those opportunities. And this needs to come right from the top. And empathy. I think it's important to understand what is the perspective of employees, what people want, and, create an environment and culture of trust really, where, they feel very safe in terms of talking about what they feel and, how they feel about the work that they are doing. What is the vision of the organization? So, thus, creating a very safe and secure workplace, but at the same time, creating the insights in the team as well. So I think that's largely where it is. And then obviously it's talking about, how do we communicate? How do we make communication effective? How do our team members, align with the larger goals of the organization? So, it's while it's top driven, but like I said, everybody needs to understand leadership just does not mean the C-suite. So, there are many leaders and all need to embody this. So I think I'll stop there.
Thanks, Konika. I think that's a very critical point.
Did we just...
I think we lost Pallavi,
Yeah, I think we lost Pallavi here.
We'll just give it a minute for her to join back.
Yes.
Yeah,
But,
and just as she joins back, just to
Yeah.
add right, what Konika said, I think leadership clearly is not C-suite. This is.
Yep.
I'm gonna steal this from you, Konika, and I'm going to use it in the future, because I think it's a crux of everything, right? We all keep thinking that leadership is all about actually somewhere on the top, and that's where we have to hear, and that's where we have to look at it. I don't think so, right? More and more, I've had the opportunity to look at the large companies, enterprises, and of course in a startup world right now, I can tell you very clearly that one of the things that really fosters the organization, moves forward, is clearly somebody who picks up and then moves ahead with
Absolutely.
it. And it doesn't matter which level, where is he and what is he. And I think that's predominantly is the reason why some organizations move really fast, really quick, onwards and upwards, and some really struggle, right, as we keep moving forward. That's some of my view. I don't know, what do you think, Colin? Do you agree, or any thoughts?
No, absolutely. So really, it's about having that ownership across, and if you have that will make a big difference, because you will have everyone who literally owns the entire thing. So it's not only going to be top down driven. Of course, there needs to be an overarching approach to things, but I think if you want it to be driven and ensure that it is done flawlessly, you have to actually have the ownership even at the grassroots level that will ensure that it's done.
And that's why, the word we use is transformational leaders. It's no longer just a leader. I mean, what we say, and we've coined a term for it, which is transformational leaders.
Absolutely.
And it applies to, across. It's not just at one set. Pallavi, you're back. So We'll hand it back to you.
My apologies. While
Not at all.
technology can be
No
a
worry,
great boon
no worries, no
in
worries.
getting us all together, across different platforms like this, sometimes technology also plays a deviant and it locks
Oh,
off the
yes.
moderator. So, coming back to our discussion, I think I was hearing the last part of the discussion in terms of how it's important for organizations to start looking at sustainability as a transformation, and how can leaders start looking at themselves being transformational leaders. I think that's very, very critical. But, for us to be able to drive this part, hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
Pallavi, you're there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
we can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yeah. Okay, great, great. So for us to be able to drive this part, it's, to drive it as a sustainable business change, it's important that we look at impact, right? So my question to you, Colleen, is how can HR actually measure the impact of sustainability initiatives on employee engagement and well-being? What are your thoughts?
Sure, sure, sure. So, to me, I think if I were to quickly put it, the success of your sustainability program is really about building trust. Yeah. It's about building trust. It's about creating excitement. It's about making commitments, and it's about having ownership. And the ownership, as we were just discussing a moment across, the ownership should be across. Yeah. It should be driven from the top, but everyone across the levels, even at the lowest level, must really own up what they sign up to. Yeah. And so talking about, how can really HR measure the impact? I think there are various things that can be measured. And I think it's important to really do a dipstick at various points in time to understand whether you're in the right track, or whether you are moving off track, or whether you've found a new track. And I think a lot is to do a quick assessment at various points in time across, to really understand where you are moving and where the barometer is moving. The second thing to me about is to really measure. And I think the best way to measure is when you have predetermined goals, when there are goals that are decided, or I would put it, if I were to put it, there are clear indicators in terms of how and what we want to do and where we want to go. And I think measuring these, tracking these are very, very, very are going to be extremely critical to ensure that we are moving the needle forward. Yeah. And besides that, I think a combination of getting groups to come together, like I mentioned earlier, the sustainability committee, getting them to come together and assess where and with which direction that we are moving. Now, if I look at it from an overall impact, from an overall engagement perspective, how has some of the few critical aspects really moved? For example, attrition. Is that are you able to contain some of your key HR metrics? Is that making a difference? Are people looking at your organization from a different light? Is this only an organization that's running after profit or profitability or money, or is it looking at a greater good? So things like that, I think, today a lot of the youngsters that are coming on board and who are joining corporate India are looking at aspects of, purpose. For what's their purpose in joining the organization, and is there a long-term purpose that the organizations really have? And I think that's going to be very, very important. Overall, to me, it's also about looking at productivity. Yeah. Because do you have better productivity when you have employees that are engaged in more sustainability initiatives? Do you have people who are focusing more on performance related aspects? I think these really are the fallouts, or I would say, as based on on what organizations work on. All this really matters in terms of what really transpires and what is the end game in it. And to me, I think a number of these that I mentioned will actually create a long-term impact for the organization, both from an engagement perspective when we look at key HR metrics, and when we look at even from a well-being indicator. If you look at some of the health metrics that are set in the organization, if you look at job satisfaction or employee satisfaction scores that are being done, a lot of it can be actually carved out from that to really see are your sustainability initiatives really making a difference to the larger group. So that's a little bit of where HR can measure impact in various areas. Yeah, I think yeah, Pallavi is there. Yeah. I think Pallavi, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. Got that. All right.
Yeah, sure.
There was some error. I was not able to unmute myself. That's
No
why.
worries.
All right. But I completely agree with you in there, and it becomes very important in terms of, unless and until we look at measuring an impact and creating a strong strategy about creating, measuring an impact, it will not be a sustainable practice. And eventually it will just fizzle out. It will be just like one of those initiatives which look great in the start, but do
Absolutely.
not really, hold on.
Sustain in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Konika, my question to you next is, what resources and support should HR provide to employees to help them embrace and practice sustainability? Because unless and until employees start thinking about sustainability as a very, very strong practice, it will not catch on, and then it just fizzles out. So, as per you, what should they do?
So, effectively, like I said, I think we've spoken about so much in terms of, communication, about the fact that, it's a program that needs to be well communicated, etc. I think here I'm just going to, use this platform to kind of explain a little bit better in terms of initiatives, especially with respect to, let's say, employee well-being and all, in terms of how, for example, Korn Ferry shifted. We shifted gears pre-COVID to post-COVID. So if I have to really talk about it, so what we used to do, so last few years, where there has been so much of change, there is so much of support employees have required in very different ways. So today, what has happened is, and maybe you guys can pick up cue, because this is what. So we practice what we preach to our clients as well. Let me put it like that. So we, for example, offer very competitive benefits across the globe, which are customized according to the country which we are operating in, depending on, market prevalence and culture, which is there. Now, these, benefits will actually empower employees and HR to actually choose what works best for them and their family. So today, the initiatives are no longer limited to only the employee. Today, an employee has become a unit. I think that's a very important shift that has happened, post-pandemic, which is there. So we used to, before COVID-19, our human resource team used to run a wellness campaign. We've always been running, for example, a wellness campaign, which used to be called as Korn Ferry Cares, which was focused on physical, emotional, financial, social well-being of our workforce to motivate a more holistic approach to employee wellness and instill an organization culture of caring and health. Now, this campaign, for example, took an additional meaning in the recent years. Now, what we are trying to do, we are not trying to insulate the workforce from the risk, but and not isolate them from the community, but we have increased the number of initiatives so that employees and communities can support each other and connect. Now, what does that mean? How is it got translated? How has it become very different? And you will find this across many organizations also, for that matter. Number one, there is an internal, mental health campaign, etc., that is kind of running in on a very, very regular basis. There are telemedicines which are now being provided in certain countries where we are present. All countries, unfortunately, don't support stuff like that. And, whatever I'm saying, guys, if you see, we are a listed company. It's all published in our ESG 2022 report, where I think everybody will benefit. And it's free just on the website. You can go and download it also, which we will do. There is an employee assistance program for all the employees and their household family members. That's what I'm saying. It's no longer a employee. It's become a unit. So now HR has to start looking at people as a unit. That's a tremendous shift which has happened. And this includes, specialized healthcare, mental health resources, mental health resources, not general mental, counseling and, which a lot of people do. We've gone to the extent of even providing this help to the LGBTQI community. In that respect, to make it even more inclusive. So sustainability is not just about initiatives. It is also about getting inclusion into our sustainable initiatives, which is a very important element today, which, so organizations or HR can't look at it as isolated from each other. They are both together, part of, one offering today, which is there. Expansion of mindfulness programs, which includes webinars, meditation. We offer yoga counseling and yoga sessions to our employees also, wherever they want. Anxiety, stress. There's been a lot of stress, with family members, people living together, providing all of that kind of stuff, which is there. Flexible work schedules. While I know as far as EU, etc. are concerned, there are certain mandates to do it. But even in places like India today or some of the other countries which are there, caregiving programs have become very, very important. So, and, all of this is important from an HR initiative perspective. But the question you asked me earlier, leadership and leadership behavior is very important to ensure success of some of these initiatives that you run. Design of work, how organizations are designed today is very, very important, because today, outcomes are more purpose driven. In terms of what they are giving back. And obviously I think everybody knows ways of working has changed, which means today the way the initiatives are run today are also going to be very different from the way they used to be at some point in time.
Wonderful, Konika. And I think the point that you brought upon here again was, whether the employees are someone who will accept that or not. So of course, as you rightly said, since time immemorial, we have been talking about health and wellness, and some organizations like Conferry have taken it to the next level where they are doing so many more initiatives. But there's still a lot of skepticism. There's still a lot of distrust or mistrust, if I mean, using a rather stronger word, amongst the employees, whether this is actually going to be helpful or not. So my last question, while this has been a very riveting discussion, but my last question to you, Srini, is, what strategies should HR use, or what strategies rather should companies or leaders use to overcome this resistance or skepticism from employees regarding sustainability initiatives? How do we make it work?
I think what your earlier question, right? Clearly on trying to articulate the purpose. It's being said and done again and again that organizations which communicate about their purpose and articulate about their purpose to the employees, right? The better they do the job, the better the organizations are. The better the P&Ls are, the better the top lines are, the better the bottom lines are. Clearly, there has been a huge study on that, where organizations who go behind purpose, and that's where sustainability really comes into picture, right? That who go behind the purpose and only purpose, right? And there are organizations who are very clear, saying that we clearly look purpose above our profits, right? And these are the organizations that thrive and do extremely well. And there are enough and more examples, right here in India, globally. Many organizations out there, and I think one of that strategy really worked for many organizations. The other thing is clearly, Pallavi, is to talk about whatever are we doing, right, as an organization. What's our existence? Of course, it leads back to purpose again, but what's our existence? Communicate that very clearly, to the employees. If you're able to do that, and once you have your employee on your side, I think half the battle is won. That's it. All you have to do is just, the person has to, wake up in the morning and say that, today I'm going to do my job. That's it. That's the only thing that's required, right? Otherwise, if you're not going to be having that, then it's difficult for you to, then you have your employee engagement, motivation, everything comes into picture. But I think the bottom line is, if you're able to communicate organizations time and again that, what's our purpose and what do we do and how do we do it? I think that gets very clear day by day. That's my view, Pallavi.
Yeah, Thank you so much, Rini. I think very aptly put. It's all about how we put across that communication, how we design that communication so that it becomes a sticky communication rather than just good to know thing or nice to know thing, and then people move across to the next next thing or the next initiative. All right. So while it's been a very, very riveting discussion, and I thank so much for to each one of the panel members for their amazing views and insights. I'm sure we all learned a lot. We will now open up the floor for the audience questions. We will now have the audience put in their questions on the chat window. And while the audience is putting in their questions in the chat window, I have one more quick poll question for the audience. Can I request Team HRAI to put on the question on screen here?
Yes.
All right. So now that all of us were in the discussion, as per you, which of the following do you believe is the most effective way for HR to contribute to employee wellness, being in context of creating a culture of sustainability? So I've already started receiving answers. Implementing wellness programs that focus on physical as well as mental well-being, promoting work-life balance and flexible work arrangements, encouraging regular breaks and promoting a culture of rest and rejuvenation, providing resources and support for personal development, integrating sustainability practices into workplace. Great. So while we are having the poll questions, I will also request the audience to please put in any questions that you may have for anyone in our panel members today. You can please put it on the chat window. Great. So until now, we're seeing a very mixed response. Okay, I think now promoting work-life balance and flexible work arrangements, I think is clearly taking precedence. Almost 45% people have been talking about that. Okay. In the meanwhile, if there is any questions, that there's anything that you would like to talk about, I will request you to please put it in the chat window. Okay, great. So Shiva asked this question, and this question is for everyone. What incentives or recognition programs can HR implement to reward and recognize employees' contributions to sustainability efforts?
Could I maybe respond something to what we have done?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a program, as I mentioned earlier in our discussion, we have a program called Impact, which stands for Making Every Day Better. And over here, what we have done, we focused on, creating a matrix around measurement, and we put into a criteria. For example, we have things like, people who have active involvement in short-term and long-term sustainability activities around sustainability livelihood, activities around community development, or undertaking projects of national importance, and so on and so forth. And here what we've done is we've created a matrix where we've measured based on achievements of project deliverables when they've taken up projects of this nature, time dedicated towards the project, and so on and so forth. We also focused on volunteering. I think volunteering is also a very important area. So we're encouraging people to volunteer, of course, during their free time, using their weekends in a judicial manner. Also, one of the important, and the way we built in our program is create a bonus section, and here what we have done is we've given people an opportunity to earn bonus points if they're able to influence, if they're able to garner much more participation. And I think that's a very important role. The other part of it is about where people can earn bonus points is on use of social media to build a campaign around that activity. So these are little small things that we've done, to create a more to ensure participation, to create more people interested around it, yet put in a mechanism that we are able to monitor, we are able to measure, and we're able to reward. And I think these are a few things that I wanted to quickly share.
Thank you so much, Colin. Okay, Nisha asked, what challenges might HR face when trying to establish a culture of sustainability, and how can they overcome?
I'll
I think
just give one input here and have to, step out at 4. One of the things I think that really comes out organizations, right, is clearly there's going to be a lot of pushback from the brand ambassadors, if I have to put it that way. I think you got to have them in your organization very clearly across levels, right? And the way right, Konika was mentioning, leadership is not about C-suite. This is clearly not going to be from a top down. It's going to be across the organization, length and breadth, right from different functions to different teams altogether. It's very important that you understand it, and one has to do a very conscious planning around it and communicate across, and have your brand ambassadors very clearly take up this, and that's when you'll be able to drive that culture across. Otherwise it becomes very difficult for any organization to drive anything and then say that, hey, listen, it's not really working out, right? There isn't any initiative that should not move forward. It's only because of these particular reasons. But it's very, very important that you have those brand ambassadors in the organization across teams and levels and structures, and that will really help the organizations. I'll have Konika or Colin really add anything else, but I think that's my view.
No, I think very well said, Srini. I think there's one fundamental thing, where we faced, tremendous pushback when some organizations are trying to bring in sustainable policies from a consulting perspective is mindset. It is, a legacy mindset versus the new mindset. It is how, the organization has been thinking in the past, and how do you imbibe it? So what Srini mentioned about communication, it is also to do with, how you imbibe it in the very culture, ethos, and every policy that you're driving. And, our belief as an organization and all the studies that we are doing, there is no one single point to it. It's the end-to-end cycle, right from an entry point of talent acquisition to talent development to lead assessments, and how do you imbibe it with the goal setting of an employee. So this has to translate in every step. So I wish there was a shorter answer to it, but it is not a short answer. Honestly speaking, it's a very long answer, Nisha. So, but I hope I've been able to kind of add on to what Srini was mentioning.
Yeah, I think very aptly put. Culture is not a top-down or a one-sided approach. Culture has to be all permeating. Culture has to be across the length and breadth of the organization. And as I said in the beginning, culture is about how we do things here. So unless and until that mindset shift happens from this is how we do things here to this is how things can also be done or should be done, I think then it will not be a sustainable change. It's been an amazing discussion, talking to each one of you and listening to your thoughts. To conclude, I just wanted to say that building a culture of sustainability is actually a process. It involves a collective effort and a very clear sustainability strategy. And however, the efforts are only worth the trouble, because unless and until you start thinking about sustainability as a very strong practice, you won't get that clear competitive advantage that is required today. However, it is also important to stress that every employee should contribute to achieving sustainable development, whereas some employees play a little more central part rather than others. Now, it is the role of HR to actually carefully identify and support these change agents, while the rest of the employees should be provided with a general sustainability awareness as well as education, right? So the people start thinking about it. Now, fostering a culture of sustainability ensures employees are feeling a greater sense of purpose and more eagerness and dedication to growing with the business. Moreover, employees will not feel separated from the purpose of the organization when their values reinforce with each other. Sustainability today must become a day-to-day focus for everyone, all employees, no matter their title. It needs to become the norm in the organization, and it has to be actually embedded in the way people see work and even more the world around. That's it from our side. Thank you so much. Back to you, HRI.
Thank you, Ms. Pallavi. So before we close today's session, we will be running a poll to have the participants' valuable feedback on this session. Thank you, Ms. Pallavi, for taking us through this session and making it so interactive and exciting. Thank you, Ms. Konika, Mr. Colin, and Mr. Srinivas for sharing your valuable thoughts and insights with us. It has been a privilege having you all for this engrossing session. To all those who wish to learn and grow, you can access the recording of our today's session on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Before we conclude with today's session, we would also want to thank all our event partners, Geisha, NASCOM COE, Calgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local, Ahmedabad, and India for supporting HRAI's event. To know more about our associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Do join us for our next session on the topic Green HR, promoting environmental responsibility in the workplace on 22nd of June 2023. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now. Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Pallavi.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.